Hello everybody, it's Aaron. Welcome to another episode of SolitaryCraft. I have some bad news. I lost an episode. I had some technical difficulties between the audio and video sync, and I decided just to scrap it. So I'll give you a quick overview of what I did. Basically, all I did was, in the episode, I set up the ore processing, and I kind of explained how the interfaces work. We have all of the ores going into the pulverizer and all of the dust going into the powered furnace. I also set it up so all the compressed sawdust automatically gets pulled out of the cyclic assembler and gets put into the furnace as well. I did move and make a bigger molecular assembler chamber, and there is a fuzzy export bus with an encoded pattern. So anytime we put an encoded pattern in the AE system, it's automatically going to get sent in here. And I'll demonstrate that right now. Everything's still pulling from the ender chest. You'll see it fill here momentarily. The only time we really need to access this thing is if we mess up on a recipe. And the only ones I really had a problem with in the past were industrial craft recipes. I also made this room a little bigger and rearranged a couple of things that are really negligible. I set up the induction furnace, and interestingly enough, the leadstone conduit will connect to the regular redstone energy conduit. We need to make some more of that, and I made another fluid transposer, set them up over here. We're going to get into that momentarily. Somebody pointed out on the last episode that when I made one of the patterns, I put 64 redstone in one of the corners. I've actually done that in the past, and it does not use the extra redstone. However, I need to point out, when you're making the pattern for, say, pulverized obsidian, if we look at it in here, you see, you have to make this one manually. Basically, what you do is you tell the pattern, I want obsidian to go into the recipe, and I want to get out pulverized obsidian. You put it in the interface on top of the pulverizer. It does not go in the molecular assembler chamber. Well, if you get this number wrong, you're going to end up with more than you wanted. So if we made this recipe for one obsidian and one pulverized obsidian, what would happen is, say you wanted 20 pulverized obsidian, instead of only sending 5 obsidian to the pulverizer, it'll send 20, and then you'll end up with 80, if that makes any sense. So when you do the recipes that go in the interfaces on the machines, those you have to get just right. But the regular recipes, like for, I don't even remember what the recipe was, something that requires redstone. It could have been, an encoded pattern or whatever. When it makes it, if I put a stack of redstone where one of them goes, it's not going to use the extra redstone. So I've been playing around with extra cells a little bit, and what I was hoping was that we could put a fluid interface on top of the fluid transposer and tell it to insert a certain amount of fluid for a given recipe. That's not the way it works from what I gather. The fluid interface, it outputs on all 6 sides. So you cannot do more than one liquid per side, from what I understand. That's what I gather. So what I want to do here is, I basically am going to use this thing to make redstone juice and ender pearl juice, and then I'll just have one transposer for each, and we'll keep these full for the most part with a fluid export bus. And then if we need to make some conduits, or an energy cell or a tesseract or whatever, what we do is we make the recipe and then we set it up so that it automatically gets sent to the transposer. And then we'll obviously put an import bus on either the bottom or one of the sides. So I just stuck a regular import bus on the side of this induction smelter, induction furnace, whichever it is. I always say the wrong one. We're going to make a pattern for hardened glass. We actually have plenty of that at the moment. It's just not in the system, but we're going to need to make some more conduits and stuff like that. So let me make a few of these things. I'll probably go ahead and make the patterns so we can craft them automatically. And then I'll be right back and we'll set them up and see if we can't make this work. I really haven't done a lot with extra cells. All I really did was try the interface. I haven't messed with much of anything else. So give me just a minute and I'll be right back. Okay, I believe I've made all the patterns I need to make. Before we do this real quick, I actually got started with Rotarycraft and I started recording. This thing lags my game to hell. I don't know what the deal is, but I started setting up a couple of DC engines and shafts and gearboxes and stuff, and at some points my frame rate dropped to like 9, even when I wasn't recording, and I just can't deal with that. So until I can figure that out, we're not going to do anything with Rotarycraft. However, I will tell you this: if you make the blast furnace, you have to put a lava block underneath it, and then you put coal, gunpowder, and iron. Well, I wanted to see if it would work with applied energistics, and it does. So if I export coal, iron, gunpowder, it puts everything in the correct slot, and then the import bus is just a basic, takes the HSLA steel out of here. So it is possible to automate your HSLA steel production with AE. If you were curious about that, I just hadn't taken it down yet, so I figured I would throw that out there. So let's throw all this stuff back in here. What we need to do first of all is we need to make the fluid thing. What's this called? Fluid storage. There it is. So we can just put this fluid storage in a drive like normal. I forgot to make the fluid terminal. And I think I have all the stuff to make it. I'll probably have to craft a couple of things. Yeah. See, that one thing is a tank, I believe. We'll make one tank. What else do we need? A regular access terminal. Hopefully that zombie is not coming to kill me. It is. Uh-oh. I need to figure out a better way of lighting up the base because really, I don't know if he turned into a baby zombie or if there was another one over there. I need to figure out a better way to light up the base because that is not going to cut it. And we need some more of this covered cable. All right, maybe we can do this now. Can we? Yes, we can. All right, so I'm just going to put this thing right next to this. We're going to need to go get some ender juice. I think there may be some in a tank in a chest over here. That doesn't really have that much in it. So let's take some of these other tanks. And just to get it in the system, before we do that, you'll notice that you can see conduit here. I'm waiting for the update where we get forge multi-part. And I'm going to make an assembly table probably next episode make some facades, so all this cable and interfaces will be covered. So let's put a fluid import bus right here. Let's put the tank up there first. When we put this fluid import bus on it, you can actually change how much you move at a time. And you can see it costs more per tick. So that's pretty neat. If you want to do something in a hurry, you can. I just want to get this in the system. So now that we've done that, what we'll do is we'll put our fluid import bus right here. Actually, let's put it right there. And we're going to put a fluid export bus on top of each of these. And I don't have any more cable, of course. And now if we look, we can see we've got resonant ender, and we can see how much we have. I want to put some redstone in there. This will hold, I believe, the one cell, 5 fluid types. So we will melt some redstone and it should get sucked in automatically. And there it is. So we can see what we've got. We're going to need buckets. Basically, I think what we do is if we put a bucket right here, whichever one we have selected, it gives us. So if we click on the redstone and put a bucket, there we get a bucket of redstone. So I'll go ahead and just connect these right now like this. And if I go to the fluid export bus, let's do the redstone right here. If we set this correctly, it starts filling up with redstone. Same way for the resonant ender over here. So that will work. Okay. So now all we really need to do is we're going to need 2 import buses. Wrong terminal. Wonder how many times I'll do that. And I'll probably run out of resources before the episode is over. I'm going to run another quarry as soon as we're done here. So we'll put an import bus on the bottom of both of these. Maybe. And we're going to, I should have made export buses as well. We'll need precision export buses. We'll need 2 of those. And then what I'll have to do is I'll need to make a pattern for conduit. And let's see, that'll be the export, and we'll need to connect that. I really just need conduit right now, which is why we're doing this. So that is the red. It needs to be blue. And then the bottom will be red so that the filled conduit will get sucked out of there. And since this one is the one with ender juice, I won't worry about that for right now. Okay, so I don't remember what we need to do to make the conduit. It's hardened glass and electrum. I'm going to have to get some electrum from over here. Obviously, not a problem. This will probably actually last us a while. So we'll do hardened glass. I need to make a pattern for that as well. So we come over here. We'll make this pattern. We can clear that out. It hasn't been working for me today for some reason. We'll make that pattern and we'll throw it in the system. We'll go ahead and make a couple manually. And hopefully this works how I think it's going to work. If we set the export on this to redstone energy conduit that's empty, we put it back into the system, it should automatically send the conduit to the transposer, just like it sends every single piece of ore we have set up to the pulverizer. Same concept. So let's say I want 32 conduits. You know, I've only got the recipe for the empty conduit, but every piece of empty conduit I make will automatically get filled up. So if I say, give me a half a stack of this, it's going to craft, and as soon as it does, it's going to send it over to the fluid transposer, and it's automatically going to get filled up. The only problem with this is managing the fluid levels in here. See, we're already out of this. I wonder if I put this in here, if I can... Oh, I can empty it. Cool. And it already got sent to the liquid transposer. So a better way to do this might be, well, might be the old way we did it, where we had, you know, a crucible for each. But I don't really think that's the best way to do it, and I really wanted to play with extra cells. So we may have to either do this manually or just figure out a way to manage the thing. I'm pretty sure if we put export buses on there, we can use a fluid level emitter. I'll look into that, and if I figure it out, then we'll talk about it in the next episode. But I basically just wanted to get to where if I want conduit, I can just say, give me some conduit, and I get it. And that is now the case. So next episode, first thing, we'll set up an assembly table, make some facades, cover all this up because I want all this stuff hidden. If you guys need some clarification on how interfaces work, that's not a very good example because there's nothing in it. Leave me a comment and I'll briefly touch on it beginning of the next episode as well. And then we will move forward. I want to start pumping all of that oil and do some refining. And if we look at extra cells again, there actually is a fluid transition plane, but I don't know how well that works because it probably only takes source blocks that touch it. I'm not sure. I'll have to play around with that a little bit. There's also a fluid crafting chamber. I imagine it's kind of like a pattern provider for fluids. I don't know what fluids you need to mix together unless it's the Tinker's Construct stuff, like aluminum, brass, or whatever. So I'm not really going to worry about this until I need to mix fluids, if that even ever happens. So that's going to do it for this episode. If you guys have any questions, comments, or suggestions, specifically suggestions if you've played around with extra cells, because this is the first time I've really used it, like I said, I will gladly take your suggestions on that. So thanks for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.